Keith.
All right, let me welcome everyone to this month's Rabbi's Talmud class. The series is sponsored by Ellen and George Sheeran, Nora and Jack Skiba, in memory of Harold Gill and the David Susser Trust. And I see many familiar faces here, so I don't have to tell you how good the class is. For the new people, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and we hope to see you again in the future. Can everybody please mute yourselves when you're not speaking? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith. I will help you out muting everybody, but feel free to unmute yourselves whenever you want to ask or participate somehow. So welcome everybody to another Talmud meeting. We have, besides this one, 2 more to go before the end of the year or before the summer. And tonight, we will talk a little bit about some very peculiar Talmudic legends, and I would say scatologic ones, in which we will deal with yes, we are here, in which we will deal with intimacy of the rabbis, and we will ask the question, what is the limit of the public role of the rabbi, and what kind of things does not belong to the congregation and does not belong to the rabbi's students, and it belongs only to the rabbi himself. But I think that the question is broader than that, because we will talk about Judaism at large and how should or should not Judaism legislate about things that happen inside our homes, inside our rooms, inside our bathrooms. Does Judaism need to actually require things from us in our most intimate moments? So those are interesting questions about which we are going to talk, reading some fascinating legends from the Talmud. So without further ado, I would like to share with you my screen. And as usual, I will ask for some help for reading the texts. So we are in Masechet in Brachot, in the Tractate of Brachot, 62a. And let us start with this one. So please, I need the first volunteer to start reading. Thank you, Lisa.
If you'd like, I'll gladly read.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Okay.
Berachot 62a. Similarly, we learned in a Baraita, Ben Azai said, I once entered a bathroom after Rabbi Akiva, and I learned 3 things from observing his behavior. I learned that one should not defecate while facing east and west, but rather while facing north and south. I learned that one should not uncover himself while standing, but while sitting. And I learned that one should not wipe with his right hand, but with his left. Rabbi Yehuda said to him, you were impertinent to your teacher to that extent. He replied, it is Torah, and I must learn.
So this is the first story, scatologic, as I told you before. And I would like to hear from you. Is this Torah?
If it is, I don't see how.
Yes, Norman.
Some of it is from the Code of Jewish law. I mean, the issue of which hand you wipe yourself with is covered in the Code of Jewish law.
Okay, so I think the word Torah here is meant to be lato sensu, not stricto sensu, lato sensu. So we are talking about Torah in terms of knowledge, Jewish knowledge, Jewish law. So do you think that somehow is this connected to Jewish knowledge or to Jewish law?
Well, again, I don't recognize all of it, but obviously some of it is. The issue of which hand you wipe yourself with is in the Code of Jewish law. And if I remember correctly, you're not supposed to wipe yourself with the right hand because that's the hand you put your tefillin on with.
Because it's the hand, sorry, that?
And you put your tefillin on with, for some people, put their tefillin on with.
Yes, we will see in a while. This is one of the explanations. Why not to wipe with the right hand? There are several other explanations. As everything in Judaism, there is no one single explanation, but many. We will see that the tefillin is one of those explanations. Yes, Harold.
Is there an implication here? Is he saying that because he observed Akiva doing things in this particular way, that's why couldn't that just be what Akiva happened to do? It's got nothing to do with Torah or tradition or anything.
This is a great question, Harold. So he's considering that if Rabbi Akiva does that way, this is the way it should be. But you are saying not necessarily. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's like that's like the thing where cutting the end of the roast off. You know, for no reason other than that's what the grandmother did. Yeah.
So maybe there's no specific reason for that behavior. And but here we see a situation that a pupil, a student, wants to learn everything from his master at a very, very strange and unusual extent. And the pupil would say, everything that my master does is Torah. Mm-hmm. Everything that my master does has some wisdom, and I need to take each and every opportunity to learn from my master.
But I would say that if you're just going to interpret everything that your master does as the right way to, you know, that it's instructive, without inquiring as to why, or is this something that, you know, for all he knows, it just happens to be random. You know, it's like you could be so easily be misled unintentionally.
Yes, because you are not asking the master, should I proceed this way? Should I act this way? You are just observing, and by observation, you might see random things. Why do you think that he would defecate while you're facing east? Not defecate while you're facing east and west, but rather north and south. Is there an explanation for this? What this explanation would be?
Because you have to face east when you're reading Torah.
Yes, when we are praying Amida,
yeah,
you should face east because of Jerusalem. So we normally pray facing east, and during Lecha Dodi, actually we turn around and we face west. But this is the way our synagogues are built, and the way that we normally pray. So it would make some sense, and it would be connected to the idea of the right hand, left hand, as opposed to the right hand, because something connected to tefillin and something connected to prayer and to ritual that is meant to be east, west, and right hand. So it could be the explanation. And why not uncover himself while standing, but while sitting? I would say out of modesty, because if someone by any chance is watching, chances are that if you uncover yourself while you're sitting, it's more difficult for someone that would be watching to see your parts. So it looks to me that is connected to modesty.
I think there's more there.
Yes, please, Lisa.
I think there's more there about the position of a teacher. That is, a teacher does not only teach, but he or she models, and students are always watching. And the responsibility is not only what you formally teach, but the way you live your life. And well, every teacher has a story about this, where a kid, I don't know, when I was first teaching, I was going home and I stopped in a supermarket to buy tomatoes. And there was a kid and his mother there, and the student said to me, "Mrs. Cohen, you eat tomatoes?" And I thought, well, yes, I do. And it just occurred to me that what a teacher does has a special meaning in one way or another to students. So maybe this passage is, in a way, a warning or a stricture for teachers. That is, even the least thing you do, even when you think you are not observed, might make a tremendous impression on a student. Therefore, teaching is a particularly complicated and difficult profession.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And I agree with you that it's there. A colleague that is a rabbi here on Long Island told me that he used to go to the JCC to swim, because Juliana and we swim at the JCC, and this rabbi used to go there, and he decided not to go anymore. And I asked why, and he told me that once he was taking a shower, and one of his congregants saw him taking a shower and said, "Rabbi, you naked." and then he responded, how am I supposed to take a shower?
Rabbi?
Yes.
It's Marty. I have a question though. This student is assuming that the way that Rabbi Akiva was sitting had to do with the direction of north, south, east, west. What if there was, I don't know what kind of facilities they had in those days. I'm sure not like we have these days, but let's suppose they went into this bathroom and the wind was blowing a little bit. There was a breeze that day. Why is he inferring that the east-west position is the reason the rabbi sat in the north-south position? Maybe the reason was that you shouldn't sit facing a breeze or a breeze behind you or on your side. There's nothing in this passage, even with the other items mentioned, as to whether the criterion that the student thinks the positioning or other behaviors are based on, whether it's the right criterion or not. How do we know should not uncover himself while standing? If Rabbi Akiva went into a stall to be modest, how do we know that that's the reason he went into a stall? There's something missing here.
Mari, I totally agree with you. We cannot know by this story if Rabbi Akiva did what he did for a reason, or it was absolutely random behavior. We cannot know regarding the three things. So you are right. I totally agree with you.
Rabbi?
Yes, there are some more comments, and then we will just move on to the next text. Yes.
With the defecating facing east, do not face east and west. What happens if the stalls you're in, the toilets are that way, and you can't sit the other way?
Okay, I think that we are talking about a hole on the floor. We are not talking about
Okay, smart boxes. Okay.
toilet as we know today. There is no toilet. There is a hole. So you can choose in which position you will do your thing. So this
Maybe
is
they
what,
had a bidet.
Rabbi,
yes, yes,
can I play a little devil's advocate here?
yes, you can, please.
I sort of find it offensive a little bit that, to me, this is trivia. Like, I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, but it's such minutia in a way. I mean, I think, I mean, I know there are laws or things for everything, but it seems to me, you know, like with the very religious, they go to such minutia, like not ripping toilet paper or something on Shabbat or something. I can't understand that, in the sense, because there are so many important things that we have to deal with on an everyday basis in our behavior and how we treat people in our life. It just seems to me this is so unimportant. Now, I don't mean to be offensive in any way, but that's how I see it. I don't, you know, that's.
Thank you so much, and I agree. I agree with you once again. It feels like very non-important, and this is the reason why I think that there are more there. And Lisa gave us a reason, and I agree very much.
That made a lot of sense to me.
About the way of the role of the rabbi or the teacher. But Lisa, I maybe you want to share your thoughts. What is the limit? So can I be myself sometimes? Can I just behave as a human being, or do I need to be a teacher or a rabbi 24/7? What's the limit, Yossi?
I don't know if it has to do necessarily with teaching. It may have to do with cleanliness, hygiene, because the whole concept is that when you go to pray and you're going to touch the Torah, you need to purify yourself in many ways. You have to be clean. In other words, you cannot take the talit to the bathroom. You need to leave it outside. So I think maybe here it's a symbolic gesture, really, in terms of purification. What basically the passage says, you have to be clean. This is how I see it, in order to fulfill your religious rituals.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this is another reading. And let us move on a little bit and read some more Talmud.
Ask one quick thing, Rabbi.
Yes, Marty.
Something about the right hand, because I know the right hand was always very important for some reason in ancient times, more than the left. I don't know what the whole story is. I wonder if that had anything to do. You don't use right hand. I'm not sure.
We will get to the hand thing in a while. Just a moment, okay? On a similar note, so who would like to read this? I need one more volunteer. Yes, Harold, please.
On a similar note, the Gemara relates that Rav Kahana entered and lay beneath Rav's bed. He heard Rav chatting and laughing with his wife and seeing to his needs, that is, having relations with her. Rav Kahana said to Rav, the mouth of Abba Rav is like one who has never eaten a cooked dish, that is, his behavior was lustful. Rav said to him, Kahana, you are here? Leave, as this is an undesirable mode of behavior. Rav Kahana said to him, it is Torah, and I must learn.
So clearly, there is a debate here about limits. So Lisa, even if I go to the supermarket, I must remember that I'm a rabbi, and people will be around watching watching what am I buying, if it's kosher, it's not kosher. But even when I go to the bathroom or when I am in the bedroom with my wife, should I be concerned about my role as the rabbi there too?
Well, I think there have to be limits. And I think with this story, we've really hit one of those limits. You know, everyone likes to be an authentic person. And when you're a teacher, you are watched. There's a flip side to it. When you are in school and you are teaching, can you be the authentic self you are outside of school, right? If you see someone with whom you want to be friendly, if that person is a student, there are rules, there are regulations. You can't suddenly form a friendly relationship with one student and not with others. I think that it's all about limits. But in this story, you have, it's really bizarre. And I don't know what they did to Rav Kahana, but he needs a really serious talking to.
Even more serious than the predecessor, Ben Azai. Okay.
Right. That one I tried to interpret more metaphorically, but this one, there's no way.
Hey, it's Torah. That's the answer to everything. It's Torah.
Yeah, it's Torah. It's Torah. When Judaism legislates about homosexuality, is Judaism invading someone's bedroom as if it was watching under the bed? So the question is, two adults inside the room, does Judaism have any say about what are they going to do or not?
Interesting. If there's nobody else observing, does it carry the same weight as this situation where somebody might be watching you?
I think that metaphorically, you can consider Jewish law, halacha, the third person under
in the
room, under your bed. When it comes to themes, to taboos, as masturbation, for instance, or as homosexual relationships. And we know that there is a whole bunch of guilt connected to those very human and natural things connected to religion. So I saw another hand. Is Norman?
Yes, again, going to the Code of Jewish Law, the Shulchan Aruch. By the way, I do want you to know that my brother and I went through that book just looking for the dirty parts. But the Code of Jewish Law does have rules about having sex, including heterosexual sex.
And how many times,
and
depending on your
but also about being naked and so on. So the Code of Jewish Law does involve itself in sexual relations and in all kinds of rules having to do with modesty and whatever. So obviously, whoever wrote the Code of Jewish Law, and I don't know if it was one person or more than one person,
had problems.
felt that was appropriate.
They had problems. That's what they had.
You are right, you are right, Norman. The question is whether we agree or not about this attitude, and if religion should enter our rooms or not, enter our bathrooms or not. I think this debate is here present on those legends. And I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think a key feature in both of these little stories, especially the second one, is that the observer is observing, sort of spying. And that's different than legislating rules and regulations, which you may or may not agree with. You could legislate rules about how to behave in the bedroom with your spouse or a non-spouse or whoever it might be, but to hide under the bed and observe is a different story. And it sounds to me like both of these people are saying it's okay to spy like this as long as I'm learning Torah. And they're using it as an excuse for being able to do what they're alleged to be doing in these little vignettes.
Yes, I think that the spying thing is another layer here of difficulty. Why this student just don't ask the master? How should I how should I behave with my spouse?
Exactly.
So by the fact that he's getting information in a non-kosher way, it's an additional difficulty here, in my opinion. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, so let us read a little more. Who wants to read now? Yes, Marty, please.
Yes, this question. But the Gemara asks, why must one not wipe himself with his right hand, but with his left? And Rabbi said, because the Torah was given with the right hand, as it is stated, as his right hand was a fairy law unto them. That's in the
okay. So this is the first explanation why one should not wipe with the right hand, because the Torah was given by whom?
By God.
By God. With God's right hand.
But I read right hand has always been the most important thing throughout a lot of things in history.
Yes, it is a metaphor connected to the good side, to the positive side, to the strong side. So, okay, this is the first explanation. Mari, please move on.
Baba Hana said, because the right hand is close to the mouth. People eat with the right hand.
Okay, another explanation that people...
Unless you're a lefty, but they used to try to make lefties righties. And Rabbi Shimon...
Just a moment,
yeah.
Mari. So people normally eat with the right hand, so they would use the left hand to wipe. And I've heard that this is the tradition in India, for instance, that people will not eat with the left hand, and we will not wipe with the right hand. And it makes some sense. Like Yossi said before, we are talking about a time in which soap and water was not available as they are nowadays. So they needed to take care of their health.
Yeah. But even today, in other areas, a friend of mine was traveling in the Middle East, and in the marketplace or whatever, if you went to touch food with your left hand, no, to shake it there, no. Okay. And this was, in modern times. Yeah.
So it's still relevant somehow. Yes, Marty.
Okay, and then because one, let's see. One ties the, you do the onto his left hand with his right hand. Rav was a Naman Ba Yitzhak said, because one points to the Cantilation notes of the Torah with his right hand.
I think you skipped the tefillin, no?
The tefillin, yeah. Well, that's the tefillin, yeah.
No, before. And Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, because one ties the tefillin, the phylacteries, onto his left hand with his right hand. So the right hand is the one used to wrap tefillin. And Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak said, because one points to the cantillation notes of the Torah with his right hand. So the yad, the hand that we use to read Torah, we would point to the Torah with the right hand. So we should not use the same right hand to wipe. So there are several different explanations, but all of them in the same direction.
More notes.
Yes, Harold.
What when they say cantillation notes, they're not. What are they referring to there? I mean, if they're reading out of a Sefer Torah, they're nothing that we would call cantillation notes, right?
Yes, you are right. So here it's not clear if we are talking about someone who is preparing to read, is studying in order to read the Torah, or someone, this is another explanation that I read, a sofer who is preparing this Sefer Torah, and he would watch a second scroll and copy from this second scroll. So he would accompany from a chumash in order to make his Torah, and he would have this chumash on his right side, and he would follow with his right hand. So it's not clear why the cantillation here is a thing. It could be only reading from Torah, but this is the way that.
I mean, one would think it would be all the letters, be everything.
Yes. All the letters, you mean not only cantillation, but
right.
Okay, great. Some of the explanations are connected to ritual, but not all of them. So the explanation connected to the hand you use to eat is not a ritual explanation, but the tefillin and the Torah are ritual, and the explanation about God's right hand, it's very symbolic, it's metaphoric, because we all know that God doesn't have a hand.
Do lefties put the tefillin on their right hand, or that they're not supposed to? I don't know. I never.
Sorry, Mari. What's the question?
One ties the tefillin upon his left hand with his right hand, but do lefties do it the other way?
Yes, I do the other way.
Yeah, so there you're tying with his onto his right hand, and with his left hand is helping tie it.
Yes. So I might need to wipe differently.
Hope you have good luck.
So let us advance a little bit.
Somebody else can.
And yes, who else would like to read the Gemara notes? Yes, Joe, please. Unmute yourself, Joe.
The Gemara notes that this is parallel to a tanactic dispute. Rabbi Eliezer says, one is forbidden to wipe himself with his right hand because he eats with it. Rabbi Yehoshua says, because he writes with it. Rabbi Akiva says, because he points to the notes of the Torah with it.
Okay, so there is another source that would debate the same issue and would bring, in the name of those three rabbis, they would bring, in the name of those three rabbis, three different opinions. One is connected to the hand you use to eat, the other with the hand you use to write, probably to write a holy book, tefillin, Torah, or mezuzah. And Rabbi Akiva says, because he points the notes of the Torah, which is connected to the cantillation explanation. Okay.
What is a tanactic dispute mean?
Okay, great question. Tanaitic means from the Mishnah, because the sages of the Mishnah are called tanayim. Tanayim. Tanayim are the sages from the time of the Mishnah. The sages from the time of the Gemara are Amoraim. Amoraim are the sages from the time of, so they had different titles.
Mhm.
Those who lived until the 2nd century were considered Tanaim, and they were the ones who created the Mishnah, the first part of the Talmud. The second part of the Talmud, called Gemara, was written by Amoraim. And we will keep on having different titles for sages who lived in different times. So we have Geonim in a specific time of Jewish development. We have Savoraim. We have different titles for rabbis who lived different times. And actually it helps us, because when you see to a Tanaic dispute, you know that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva, the three of them lived more or less in the same time, meaning they lived in the Mishnah time. So they lived before the 2nd century. Yes, Marty.
Yeah, we always say we want to have a right-hand man, you know, person who's our backup. But
Yeah,
forever.
It could be a right hand.
No, I'm just saying that's another use of the right hand. It just
could be a woman too. Let us be
women or
egalitarian.
woman. I agree,
Yeah,
but
it could
it's
be a woman.
important. The right something is more important than the left. You know?
Yes.
I don't think that, you know. That's
For
not
the same
common.
reason we use the expression "you are right."
Yeah, right. This is not political.
You are right. What does it mean? You are right. You are not left. Yes, you are right.
Or left out.
It comes from the same origin. The idea that right is the best, that right is the strongest. The right, okay? Let us not enter in politics.
This is not a political thing at all.
Great. I know. I'm just kidding. Okay. So let us go to the following text. I need one more volunteer. Yes, Lisa, please.
I like this one.
Okay.
Rabbi Tanhum Bar Hanilai said, anyone who is modest in the bathroom will be saved from 3 things: from snakes, from scorpions, and from demons. And some say that even his dreams will be settling for him. I really love that one because clearly their definition of a bathroom is very different from our definition of a bathroom. But if there were snakes and scorpions in their bathrooms and covering up most of the time would save you from the snakes and scorpions, well, you know, good luck to them. Now, the demons thing is more difficult, okay? And who is to say that we don't have demons in our bathrooms? But I guess it's the 2 things. That is, when you are following these rules, you are safe from physical danger and even from supernatural danger, okay? So it has something to do with obedience in considering the meaning even of the most minor of daily activities, or so it seems.
I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd go to the bathroom for a year.
The snakes and the scorpions, yeah, they're really something.
There's so many regulations about going to the bathroom. It's like, don't go. Yeah.
If you saw snakes and scorpions, then you saw demons as well.
And you're exposed in a particular kind of way.
Somehow,
isn't there even a prayer that one would say when one goes to the bathroom?
yes,
Or
after
blessing
going
the
to the
systems
bathroom.
are working?
Yes, after going to the bathroom, there is a prayer in which we thank God for the holes in our body, and for the fact that the holes in our body work the way they work. If one of them would stop working, we would be in trouble. So we say a blessing after going to the bathroom, thanking God for the holes in our body and the way that they function, the way they work. Yes, well remembered, Bruce.
Is it said even in the bathroom or after one exits?
After. We are not supposed to say brachot inside the bathroom. It wouldn't be appropriate. So we normally leave the bathroom and we say this blessing.
And don't forget to bench gomel.
Bench gomel when you are in danger and you survive.
you got out alive.
Yes, yes. So Lisa, somehow we feel a little bit more comfortable when we see that Judaism is trying to legislate on things that would protect us.
Yes.
So we are not anymore talking about gossiping. we are not talking anymore about curiosity. We are talking about security and yes, and protecting us from the snakes, scorpions, and demons. And what would it mean to be modest in the bathroom?
Yeah, that would change over generations too. That's not necessarily set in stone.
Maybe not have a mirror.
Okay, Roberta. Okay, Sandy.
Well, going back to what was said earlier on, not undressing until you're ready to do whatever you have to do. It's not walking in naked into the bathroom, but rather dressed and then lowering your clothing, whatever it is, and taking care of your business. So you'd be modest until you'll be modest the whole time.
Okay.
And wear shoes.
And showering with your clothes on.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And anyone else? What would it be to be modest in the bathroom? To shut the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. We will see in a while that it could be also connected to the idea of going by yourself or with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be more modest to go by yourself, not to go with anyone else.
Does that answer the question as to why women go to the bathroom together?
Why women go together?
Yeah, women always go together. Notice that?
They go
Restaurant,
to
one
the
gets up,
room
the other gets
in
up.
which the toilet is. They do not go to the toilet together, Marty.
There are different stores.
Well, I wasn't implying that.
Marty, in the
I just
house
thought
of
there might be an accident.
in the house of my grandparents, there was a long corridor to get to the bathroom. So I normally went there with my brothers to protect me, and I would go with them when they needed to. So we always went together to the bathroom when we were Shabbat in the house of my grandparents, because that corridor was scaring, and so we had to go like together to the bathroom. So
Yeah.
it's not only women. Let us see what Rashi, this very famous French commentator from the 11th century, would say about the snake's thing. Okay, let us read Rashi. Who would like to read Rashi for us? About the snakes and scorpions. Yes, Hannah Plotkin. Please unmute yourself, Hannah.
Yeah.
Yes, great.
From the snakes and from the scorpions and from the demons, from his modesty, he behaves calmly and silently, and the snakes do not feel jealous of him, and even the pest is immune to him.
Okay, the pest is a translation here for demons. It's a difficult rashi. I don't understand it very much. From the snakes and from the scorpions and from the demons, from his mother. So this is the title. So he's quoting the Talmud. This is the title, and then Rashi says. Rashi begins from here, from the dash. From his modesty, he behaves calmly and silently, and the snakes do not feel jealous of him, and even the pest or the demons is immune to him. Can you understand this, Rashi? It's a difficult one, in my opinion. Yes, Harold.
Well, it's sort of like, you think of any kind of dangerous animal. The idea is, hold still. Don't. In other words, if it doesn't look like you are being perturbed by the, or you're not doing anything to rile up the snakes and the scorpions, and then they're not going to attack you. You're not going to be hurt by them.
Yeah, we could say the contrary too. We could say that going to the bathroom in a very noisy way would scare the snakes and the scorpions, and you will be safer. I don't know if I would go to a very, very abandoned bathroom somewhere. I think I would make a lot of noise and try to scare the animals that could be there. But here we read the opposite. Hannah, would you like to say something? Yes.
Yeah, I think he feels protected, maybe because of his godliness. He feels God is protecting him, and he need not fear dangerous creatures because he's observing correctly. Possibly.
Yes, it could be. This snake thing could be like a punishment for something. So if you behave well, you will not be punished. But it could be a very practical thing, because going to, I have already found a frog in the toilet. In the Amazon forest. I went to a hotel in the Amazon forest, and I found a frog inside the toilet. I saw it before sitting, so it was good.
Has to watch out for alligators.
Yes,
we are talking about the 21st century, so we can imagine that those bathrooms could have some animals for sure. Actual animals, not only supernatural beasts. Let us go to the next one. I think it's the last. Yes, this is the last one. And if you behave well, I will conclude with a joke today. Because we need to conclude this conversation today very lightly, because it's a very peculiar class. So who would like to read the last source? The Gemara relates. Someone who did not read yet? Yes, Roberta, thank you so much.
The Gemara relates, there was a particular bathroom in the city of Tiberias where when two would enter it, even during the day, they would be harmed by demons. When Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi would each enter alone, they were not harmed. The sages said to them, "Aren't you afraid?" Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi said to them, "We have learned through tradition. The tradition to avoid danger in the bathroom is to conduct oneself with modesty and silence. The tradition to end suffering is with silence and prayer."
Okay, so what do you read here? This is our last source for tonight. What do you find here?
Rabbi,
Yes, yes, Sandy.
when the two of them went in, they probably made a lot of noise and
Yes.
aroused the demons.
Yes.
When they went in alone, they were quiet. So the demons left them alone, so to speak. They weren't invading their territory.
Okay. Roberta?
It says the tradition to avoid danger is to conduct yourself with modesty and silence. So if you're alone, unless you're talking to yourself, it's going to be quiet. But two guys going in, they're talking about something, you know.
Yes.
I think being quiet, the snakes and other animals that they might have had in there, I think maybe Harold said earlier, if you're quiet when you're near a wild animal and you're calm, they won't bother you. And I think the demons are sort of a psychological equivalent, where when you're not afraid of being attacked by a physical animal, sort of the emotional calmness follows. So you're not afraid emotionally of the spiritual demons.
Okay, thank you. I saw another hand somewhere. Harold.
I'm looking at the last two sentences, and I think there are two ways you could read that. One could be that they're saying there's a connection between modesty and prayer, since in both traditions they say has silence. One is silence with modesty and one is silence with prayer. But I really think that more likely is just saying that, you know, it's kind of summing it all up, saying that here's our tradition for avoiding danger in the bathroom. And in a similar way, we have a tradition with silence and prayer, but that's to end suffering. And that's probably much more, you know, a bigger deal. So they're saying that the whole bathroom thing is supported by a much greater way of thinking.
Okay, thank you, Harold. Does someone read in this source something connected to the idea that going by yourself to the bathroom is the right thing to do? Would it be also connected to the fear of sexual violence, harassment? What could take place in that closed room when two or more people are there at the same time? Could it be a source of concern? Yes, Naomi. Unmute yourself, please.
That's basically what I was going to say, that they were probably fearful that if two men went into a bathroom together, like they do in other places, that they might be engaging in more than just using it for the usual purposes. And since there were such strict rules about men being with men, this could be just an extension of it. And the fact that there are demons involved, you know, makes it even more, you know, like a forbidden thing to do. Of course, we had that snake, this same snake that enticed Eve in that Garden of Eden. So people were, you know, not only afraid of real snakes, but, you know, metaphorical snakes and demons.
I agree, Naomi. We could read it this way. Anita?
I didn't really understand the last line, the tradition to end suffering is with silence and prayer, which is really, I think, maybe the crux of this whole thing, because I mean, to me, that's the line that really counts. All this other, I mean, I think, I don't know. I just think that last line is the what is really the most important. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
And if the last line is the most important, how would you sum it up?
Yeah, but I have a question about that.
Just a moment, Mari. Just
I think trying to do the right thing as you see it, and behaving in the best way. We're all humans, subject to many, many, many mistakes, knowingly or unknowingly. I think in the end, I really think that all this other explanation is really superfluous in a way to the end, to the last line. I think that is what is expected of us to pray, to have faith, and with that comes that we know, certainly in Judaism, that we are to be the best people we can be, kind and caring. And I just, I think that is the most important thing. A lot of this, I think is sort of, I sound terrible, but I think some of it is superfluous to what's really important. I don't know. Maybe I sound terrible. I don't know.
No, I like it very much, because I think that the tradition to end suffering with silence and prayer, I think it's an invitation to all of us to keep looking for a balance and keep looking for the common sense and a behavior that is reasonable. Will be okay. Yes, Mari.
Yeah, well, what concerns me a lot is that there is so much suffering that is going on in the world. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I hear the tradition to end suffering. How could we be silent about that? That concerns me a little bit. I understand the prayer, but wouldn't we want to speak up about suffering and do something about it? Maybe I'm not reading this to end suffering is with silence. Yeah, I could accept the prayer, but don't you want to do something about that suffering?
Here it's not talking about the suffering in the world. It's talking about the suffering of the individual.
Personal suffering.
Personal suffering.
Okay.
Personal suffering. Personal suffering. So, as I promised you to conclude with a joke, and a scatologic joke for sure. And before I tell you the joke, I just think that those legends help us to think about life and to think about the limits and to which extent we are allowing Judaism, the tradition, to enter our private life, our room, our bathroom. And the answer is very individual, as in everything. We as doctors or professors or teachers or rabbis or whatever we are also playing a very public and social role, even when we are not inside the classroom or the hospital or the synagogue and so on. But we are human beings, and we cannot be 100% of our time concerned what the others will think about me or about my behavior. It's impossible to act as if the pupil is under your bed every time, every moment. So I think it's an invitation for us to reflect and to consider and to keep on living and seeking for balance. In Brazil, I would go to Guarujá, to a beach, on a Wednesday, and someone of my congregation will see me and say Shabbat Shalom, because they was so used to see me only on Shabbat in the synagogue that wherever you see the rabbi, it's Shabbat. It doesn't matter. It's a Wednesday. It's on the beach. It doesn't matter. It's Shabbat. You see the rabbi. It's Shabbat. So Shabbat Shalom. But the joke that I would like to tell you is that about this couple that is getting ready to marry. So there will be a marriage, and they have a meeting with the rabbi, and they ask the rabbi if they are allowed to put men and women to dance together in the wedding party. And the rabbi says, no, it's forbidden. Men and women cannot dance together. Okay. And then the couple keep on talking to the rabbi, and they ask the rabbi if during their first night together after the ceremony, if are they allowed to make love? And the rabbi says, yes, you are allowed to make love. More than that, you are required to make love. But they start to explore the details with the rabbi, and they start asking, what about making love in this position? And the rabbi says, it's okay. And what about this other position? It's okay. And what about this, but it's okay. And then they ask, what about both of us standing? And then the rabbi says, no, it will look like you are dancing. I think this joke talks about limits. It's impossible to allow Judaism to enter in our most intimate relations and to dictate how should we behave ourselves. When we are only between adults, we are allowed to decide our ways. And I would not recommend you to ask the rabbi how to behave in those situations.
Rabbi, if I can add one thing, now I understand when I was teaching why there were separate bathrooms for faculty and students.
I just want to, I'm putting a bunch of stuff under my bed. There's no room.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.